Good afternoon. I'm joined today by Mark Daniels from Mark Daniels Mark's Inspiration. How you doing, buddy?
What's up? Glad to be here. It's an honor.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Before today I want to talk about like bad boy traits that women find attractive. But before I go into the show, I want you to talk about yourself and your background and everything. Because I've seen some of the content that you do, and I find that you talk about many different things. And one of the things I really like that you talk about is like mindset and manifesting and stuff like that. So hey, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. Well, it's great to be here. I breathed a little dust earlier this week, so I was a little paranoid about it because I'm having a hard time speaking, but it seems like I'm doing okay now.
Yeah, you're doing good, man.
I'll do my best. I might have a cough or two here in the process, but I it is definitely true that the girls do love the bad boys. Now, and I think the title is what be the bad boy that women want.
Right.
And of course, you can go to the extreme of that a little too far, or you can take the bad boy traits, the good ones that you can use, but not be such a bad boy that you get yourself into trouble. I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I was a classic bad boy. From the time I was about 15 till, I'll say it this way, from the time I was 15 to about 20 years old, I partied, I drank, did drugs, and I had all the girls. I had a steady girl from the time I was about 15 to 21. Okay, and I had other girls that I was seeing during the time I was with her. Now, she was the classier girl. She was an older girl. And I used to think, I knew some of the local guys looked at me and her and wondered what the hell she was doing with me. I was a long-haired Harley Davidson rider. I got in fights. I partied. I worked enough to buy beer and to buy drugs and hung out with my buddies. And she knew, excuse me, she knew that I had other women. But what I would tell her, and I said, well, honey, I always come home to you. And she never really asked me much about it, but she was faithful to me. She was loyal to me. And I mean, I did some pretty low life stuff as far as boyfriend and girlfriend goes. As I said, I was the classic bad boy. I was pretty dishonest with women. With my friends, I wasn't dishonest, or in business, I always managed to stay pretty honest in that. But I don't recommend being the classic bad boy because a lot of times I end up in jail, which I did end up in trouble. I didn't make it to jail because I would go to bars before I was 21. I got in a lot of fights. I just lived that lifestyle. When I was young, about 9 years old, I seen a movie called Easy Rider.
Oh, I remember that movie. Yeah.
I wanted to be those guys. And by the time I was 17 or 18, I was those guys. I looked like them. I acted like them. I partied like them. I did everything that they did. And I don't regret that. It was a great time. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But that lifestyle, and I had the women that all these guys wanted. I mean, the older, more classier women. I even wonder what the hell they were doing with me. But as a bad boy, one of the traits of a bad boy is you can't have him. Nobody could have me. The most important thing was my motorcycle and my lifestyle. I would leave a girl in a minute. If she wanted to stay with me, that was great. But if she didn't, there's the door. I may not want her to leave, but I sure as hell wouldn't stop her. And that's the way a bad boy is, and that's why these women love bad boys, because they're unattainable. And actually, the longtime girlfriend I had, I remember one time we was together, we was having just finished sex, and she says, the sex is good, but we really don't have much of a relationship, because I was emotionally unavailable, because I got burnt when I was about 15 or something like that by this girl, and I thought to myself, I am never going to open myself up to a girl again. So that's another trait of the classic bad boy. He is not going to open himself up to anybody. So he's never attainable emotionally. Now, so you can use the traits of a bad boy. One of the things I hear a lot of people talking about nowadays is vulnerability. I think it's great to be vulnerable with your mentor or your best friend, but you go pulling that crap off with your woman, she's going to get tired of it pretty damn quick. She don't want to see you whining about you losing your job, or about you hurt yourself on the job, or your back hurts. She don't want to hear that shit. Go cry to your guy friends or your mentor, because she's not going to do anything but see you as weak if you start being vulnerable to her. That's a message I see a lot of.
Yeah, we got disconnected there for a second.
Really? So that's a message I see a lot of, I would say, coaches or people saying you need to be open, you need to be vulnerable with your girlfriend. I don't think they talk about it too much in the red pill community, but I see more of that on Facebook groups with guys. And that is one thing a bad boy is not. He is not vulnerable to anyone. But I'll say
So he kind
something.
of doesn't. So a bad boy like shouldn't, because I notice most of the guys these days, like, and I was guilty of this, but I would complain to my girl all the time and stuff about this, how this is not going. I learned that was a bad thing, But that's the problem most guys have is they complain to the girls too much. They're showing too much vulnerability to the girl to the point where it's making him look weak, and that and that she loses attraction for him. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, she don't want you complaining to her. You need to be her rock and her mountain, and that's the one thing about the bad boys. He can't be moved. And she also knows when she's with him. When my woman is with me, even now, nobody's going to hurt her unless they get through me. A bad boy can fight. He'll stand up for what he believes in, and he takes care of his woman. Okay, he takes care of his family if he's got kids, and he takes care of his mission and his purpose. And that is the first thing in his life, and nothing gets in the way of that. She cannot stand in between his mission and his purpose. And that's another thing that makes her so attracted to him is he's got a purpose, he's got a mission, he's got drive. And that is the most important thing in his life. And that's another thing I see nowadays is people telling you that your woman is, how do I say it? I just see guys getting too focused on their woman. I even got caught up in that myself here in the last few
Mm-hmm.
years. It's not the way to go. It's not the Romeo and Juliet story. You cannot put too much stock in any woman. She has to be a complement to your life. And that's what she is for the bad boy. She's a complement to his life. She's not his sole purpose. He doesn't give a shit if she gets mad or not. If she doesn't like what he does what he does. And then you got the betas sitting back here wondering why. And I'm sure those guys wondered why back then, what the hell them girls was going out with me for. Her and several of the other older, good-looking girls. I wasn't 17 years old, and these girls were 21, 22. They were the high-end girls in town there. And I'm talking about the competition. If you want to look at it, where these guys were, farmers. They had big farms. They were working. They were good, steady men. Good prospect for husband material. And then these chicks were going out with me, and I know they had to wonder. It was because these girls knew they could have these farmers and these guys with the money, but they couldn't have me. They wanted the challenge. They liked that challenge. So girls are in love with the bad boys because he's always a challenge. He's never weak. He never gives in, and they want to make his life better. They want to please him, although they can never really please him because he's always got other women. But they want to be number one, and they will tolerate him having other women just so they can have part of him.
Mm-hmm. Even that's a problem. A lot of guys these days, so they make the girl the center of their universe, and they don't focus on themselves. And because I know a lot of people, like some friends who actually make it all about the girl and everything. Like I know it's weird 'cause, like they'll get rid of their friends. They won't I won't see them for a while, but then you see them. Like I've seen them come back like a couple months later, and the girl dumped him, and he's all crying and stuff. Because he made that girl like the focus of his life. He gave up everything that he was currently doing, just hanging out with people. And I remember, I was working on, doing something with, getting a band together. He kind of put that aside and everything. And when he was working on, doing his music, like the girl called and needed something from him right away, he stopped what he was doing for the girl.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. It happened back in my day too, a long time ago. But we would call the guy out. What happens is he gets a girlfriend. All of a sudden, he quits hanging out with his buddies. We used to call a guy like that pussy whipped. I guess they call them simps now, or simping is what they say. But
Yeah.
your friends would call you out on that shit. But we hung around with a bunch of men, a bunch of guys back then. When I was 17 or 18, after work, we'd all hang around on the street and drink beer. There'd be 8, 10, 15 of us every night. And then the older men would be down at the other, it was a liquor store, but they all stood around behind there and they all talked and shot the shit. And I think that's a big problem with men today is they're not hanging around with enough men. There's not enough fellowship of men. Too many of them are behind their computers. And you're never going to be a bad boy or be the man that women want by sitting around behind your screen being a keyboard warrior. You got to get out there and meet girls. You got to get out there and be comfortable around women. You got to be comfortable wherever you are. When a bad boy walks in a place, people turn around and look at him. They don't even have to see him walk in, but they turn around and look at him because he has an air, he has an aura, he has an energy about him. He walks in a place like he owns the place, and thus people feel that energy from him. It's just very important the way a man carries himself. But these things all come from, like what you talk about, confidence, the inner confidence, the belief that you can handle any situation, that you can handle whatever comes before you, no matter where you are or what you're doing. These are all inner strength. And that is another thing that women are attracted to. Men are attracted to physical beauty. Women are attracted to inner strength. Now, looks will get your foot in the door as a man, but that's about all it's going to do. If you don't have inner strength, they'll soon be turned off by you.
Yeah, I mean, you could be like a handsome guy, but like if you don't have the confidence and you lack like masculine qualities and can't lead her, like yeah, she's gonna like throw your ass, kick your ass to the curb, I should say.
Right. Yeah. It's what you, it's so many people think that I see guys posting about, well, if you're not 6 foot tall, six pack abs, whatever. And the guy will say, well, I'm short. I was talking to a guy the other day, said he was ugly. I mean, I looked at him, maybe he's a 4 or 5 on looks, but then that's just my opinion. I'm sure you have seen, as well as I have, guys that were challenged in the looks department be with some very beautiful women.
Oh yeah,
it's different for women. They're not. I mean, of course, looks matter. I imagine a lot on these dating sites and different things, of course, to get your foot in the door. But when you open your mouth, they say women fall in love through their ears and men fall in love through their eyes. And I believe that's very true. It makes a lot of difference what you got on the inside. So, but if you think you're ugly and girls aren't going to like you, guess what? That becomes your self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm. So if you have the mindset that you think you're unattractive to women, you're just going to project that like in your mannerisms when you go approach a girl or when you're out on a date with a woman and stuff. You're just going to, like if you think that you're something, oh, she'll think I'm ugly. Like you're going to show that through your behavior.
Yeah, they're going to pick up on that as soon as you open your mouth. Well, it's like that's the one thing people like to have a few drinks. I don't drink anymore, but I used to, because after a couple drinks, they can go up and talk to any girl. It gives them that confidence, or it lowers their inhibitions. What they do when they've had a drink or two, they act on their intuition, their first thought, because it dulls the conscious mind. So they may see a girl after a few drinks and think, hey, I'm going to go hit on her, and they go do it. But when they're sober, they think, I'm going to go hit on that girl, and then they start thinking, oh, well, she's probably, oh, that guy over there, he probably likes her. Oh, she's probably here with somebody. They talk themselves out of it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to have a drink to do it. Just act on that first intuitive thought when it comes to a girl. And they admire that. Even if you go up to them and stumble and bumble trying to talk to them, at least you have the balls to walk up to them and say something. Most guys don't have that. They don't have it.
Right, exactly. I don't know, like, and I think a lot of guys are going, using the dating apps to go talk to these girls nowadays rather than go out and do talk to girls in person. I like to do both. But sometimes I get, when I have the success on the dating apps, I kind of I don't talk to, I feel, well, since I'm having that success, I don't need to go out and do the approach. I mean, I'm just doing it half-assed. But no, I think that, makes it a challenge because, the guys can just, be lazy and swipe it and they can be confident, like through the phone and the computer screen without having to worry about, how the girl's going to react if they were going to approach her in person.
Well, the dating apps, I use them too, but they're buffers. It's not, if you can't talk to a girl in person, like where I live in a rural area, it's like, it's horrendous here. I mean, if I see a good looking girl once a year where I live, it's a plus.
I can see that smile on your face, buddy.
Well, I like thin girls that are in shape. So I live in Missouri, and in the U.S., we have over 70% overweight or obese, rate. So, but I think it's about 90% around here. So, and I don't like the bigger girls. My son's like some thick girls, but I don't even like thick. I like girls that are in shape. So it's a little difficult around here. But if you do see one, I happened to be working down toward the city the other day, and I did see two good looking girls there. And I'll give you the example of that. One of them was walking by, and I looked at her, and she smiled, and I talked to her. Anyway, I ended up asking her to go. I asked her to go to the islands with me or something, joking around. Of course, she's got a boyfriend. They always do, but I was able to talk to her and make the offer. And I talked to her several times before I got off the job there. But you just assume that they like you. You just got to assume that. And most of the time they will. They like the fact that they're being approached. And if you're not an idiot approaching them and you just go up and talk to them like they're a human being, and one of the most important things, and one thing a bad boy does, is when he talks to a girl, she knows he wants to have sex with her. Okay. And he doesn't hold back on anything. I used to tell girls when I was out running, I said, you know, I'd love to get in bed with you and be naked. We don't have to have sex. I just love to feel your body up against mine. Of course, I want to have sex with him, but I would tell him that. A lot of times that worked. I wasn't afraid to tell him that. Now, nowadays, things are a little different. I kind of feel bad for I have boys that are dating age 19 or 21 years old and under, 5 of them. It's a little different nowadays than it was back then. You got to be careful what you say to who because of these laws or the situation now. But you can still do that, and if it's done in not in a rude way, but in a suave sort of way, it'll be because most guys don't have the guts to do that. Every girl you approach knows you want to have sex with her, and if you go up to her acting like you're her friend or something, that turns her off. Bad boys don't do that. That girl knows as soon as he opens his mouth, he wants to have sex with her. I don't know what kind of language you use here, so I'm trying to keep it toned down.
Oh, no, you're good. You feel
okay.
Censored.
I try to keep mine PG-13, although sometimes.
I think I dropped a few F-bombs already. But
as long as you don't say it too much, I don't think YouTube has a problem with it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know. Like, I think and that could really affect guys too, like hiding their intentions. I think it's good to be kind of direct with your intentions. Because like if you're just approaching a girl and just be all friendly towards her, like I had this problem too, because I thought I didn't want to really I just kind of wanted to get her approval, which was a bad thing. But when you can learn to develop your own authenticity and get away from that friendly thing, like you're gonna have some success either with the online dating or just meeting girls in person. But I noticed like that was a big thing. Just like a lot of guys are come off too friendly and they're afraid to make that move because they're afraid of how the girl's going to react. And like you said, you can do it in a smooth way, or you can get if you have I don't know if you're going out on a date as well, you can get like a feeling for the interaction, and then you can kind of judge out there, if she's interested.
Right. Well, how many times too, as you're talking about that, how many times have you heard guys ask other people or ask you about, well, okay, I take her out and it's like, do I go back to her apartment, or do I take her back to my place, or do I go for the kiss? Here's what I do. As soon as I meet that girl, she knows I want to have sex with her. So a lot of times I'll kiss her on the lips right when I meet her. I'll embrace her, kiss her on the lips, or at least kiss her on the cheek. And I'll make it a sexual hug or whatever it happens to be. And if for some reason she would pull away, but see, if you've had a conversation with her already, for example, like the girl I told you that I met on the job here a while back, she knows. I mean, she knows if she ever gets together with me, I'm going to be taking her to the bedroom. So I didn't tell her that, but in the conversation, it's just the way I talked about. I told her she ought to sneak off and have a tryst with me. She said, what's a tryst? I wasn't even sure if that was the right word. But it is. A love affair because she's got a boyfriend. I said, we should sneak off to the islands. And I would talk that shit to her every time I seen her while I was on the job. We were down there a couple months. And they love that crap. They love that. I didn't come right out and tell her straight up that I would. I think I lost you.
I know, I'm still hearing my cameras as well.
Okay, but
switch over to my computer camera.
So as you speak to a girl, you need to make sure that she knows that you want. I mean, she does know, but she knows that you just don't want to hide your intention. Obviously, you're approaching her because you think she's physically attractive, and she knows that. So if you come off as anything other than a guy who wants to be with her, not that I'm saying you have to just go for the sex right away, but the unsaid things, the body language, and the way you say your words is so important when you're talking to someone. I mean, then you don't have to worry about this. Well, should I kiss her goodnight before I drop her off? I mean, if you gotta think about that, you done screwed up all night.
Right.
That should have been taken care of as soon as you met her. That's the best way to deal with that.
Right. Well, but have you ever say you would have you ever maybe gone on a date where you tried to make a move and the girl pulled away and it turned out not to be interesting? Like, how do you know if like a girl's wasting your time or not? Like do you have
I've only been with one girl, and I don't remember. It was so long ago that said no. And of course I think I was taking her clothes off, and I was going to have sex with her, and she said no, but she meant no. Okay. Now back in my day when I was with a lot of girls back then, because I don't as much now because I got kids I'm raising, whatever. But every good girl that I stayed with for more than one night stand deal said no when you tried to get her bra off or tried to get in her pants. She may even button her pants back up. You'd try again. She'd say no. And then eventually you get them pants off. Eventually, she may say no 10 or 15 times, but I'm not talking about being forceful, but it's a no that doesn't mean no. It means I don't want you to think I'm easy. Because I remember going out with one girl. Her name was Ethel. Nobody would know who she was. So um, she just got in the back seat and took her clothes off. It's like, okay. So, I mean, I had sex with her, but I never went out with her again because she was easy. She did that with everybody. But the girls that I respected were the ones that didn't, we'll say it this way, give it up easy. They made you work for it. Like I said, things are so different now. I think you could still use that method. You just have to make sure that the girl you're with isn't a psycho, I suppose. Because if a girl is somebody worth your time, first off, she's not sleeping with a bunch of guys, so she's not going to just let you pull her clothes right off. She's going to put some resistance up because she wants you to think that she's a good girl, even if she isn't. Even if she isn't, she wants you to think.
Yeah, because they're taught to be like they have this look good. So, like they want sex just as much as guys.
Yeah. But to answer your question too, I did think of one situation. I did take this girl out one time, and she got pissed off at me because I had just broke up with a girl that I was going out with that actually became my first wife. And this girl figured out that I was taking her out just to get over my ex-girlfriend. It pissed her off. So, yeah, she lost her interest quick, and she tried to humiliate me, and I just took her home. And I did feel a little humiliated, to be honest about it, but yeah, I never seen her again. So yeah.
Oh, that happens. So, like, how are you, for guys who are just trying to, like, become more confident or develop types of bad boy traits, like, where do they start? Like, is it with their mindset?
Well,
your opinion.
Yeah, I think I had some notes here. The bad boy traits and characteristics. It's the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellian, and psychopathy. Okay. And I believe back when I was in my younger days, when I was partying and drinking, doing drugs, I wasn't an everyday drinker or user, but I had a lot of narcissistic traits. Women love that, I'm telling you. Okay. Because when you're drinking and doing drugs, you can kind of dull your empathy because narcissists don't have much empathy. Now, the reason a woman's attracted to that is she knows if the shit goes down, that you're going to survive as a man. And guess what? If she's with you, she's going to survive. Now, people would think nowadays, oh, well, God, it's not like we live back in the medieval times. Doesn't matter. These women have been evolutionarily programmed for centuries, and this is in them. They don't consciously think that, but they're attracted to that strength of character that this guy is not going to be moved. And if the shit goes down, he's going to survive. And if I'm with him, I'm going to survive. If I have kids with him, they're going to survive.
Have you ever been tested for that, though, to see have women tested you, though, to see if, like, you lived up to, like, that personality trait? Right. You know how women give guys shit tests and everything?
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
So have you ever been, like, have women ever tested you, like, giving you shit tests and stuff?
Yeah. And I've failed as many as I've passed.
But that's hard to tell sometimes.
More in my later years, I failed them because I went from being till I was about 29, I was the bad boy. After I turned about 20, I quit. I got rid of the motorcycle. I got into sports and boxing, amateur and professional boxing. But I got married and I had a wife. I had 2 steady girlfriends and I had other girls I was sleeping with. So I was the bad boy, but I was more of the jock type bad boy. But once again, all the girls wanted me. Even my wife's best friends wanted to be with me, and I was with a couple of them. So I lost my train of thought. You asked me a question.
About shit testing.
Oh, shit test. So during that time, I may have been shit tested, but it never affected me, and I passed them all. But when I turned 30, and I kind of look back, and that was what I'd say about being a bad boy. You don't want to be the classic bad boy like I was in my teens and in my 30s because I was very dishonest with the women, and that shit comes back to haunt you. So I don't recommend that. But what I do recommend is taking those characteristics and using them, but you don't have to lie to the women. They really don't want to know if you're sleeping with other women. They very seldom will straight out ask you. And even if they do, you don't have to lie. You can just, there's ways around it without lying about it. But the point is, you have to be the man. that passes the shit test without really thinking about it, because they will constantly shit test you. Now, when I turned 30 and I tried to be, I'll say blue pill, but not really. I tried to be the man that I thought society said that you need to be a good husband and a good father. I've been married 4 times, so that kind of tells you. The first marriage I screwed up by my run around the line, but the other 3 turned on me and came back. So I wasn't the bad boy. I was the steady husband who was home every night, the provider. And my second wife that left me, she left me for the bad boy. She said, "You're a good father and a good husband." She said, "I just can't live this kind of life." And she left me for the, guess this classic. She left me for the guy that just got out of jail. He had an ankle bracelet on because he was under house arrest and he was dealing meth. So there you go. So that's how that works. And that happened more than once to me, because I believe in the institution of marriage. You can't be, you have to maintain your bad boy status to a certain degree. You cannot be this steady, dependable guy that focuses only on his family and his wife. At least my experience, it just doesn't work, at least in the society we have today, because the court system is so involved in the family, at least here in the U.S. So marriage in other countries, maybe Romania and some of the Latin American countries where they have to have a man, it's a little safer and a little more honored there. But here in the U.S., I got 5 boys. I told all 5 of them, I said, don't marry. If they want to have kids, I'm not sure how they're going to do that. But I have a daughter. I advise her to marry. It's win-win for her, bad for the boys.
Right. No, I hear you. No, that is kind of like, it's weird how that, that's bad for guys and good for girls. Girls tend to women tend to benefit more from marriage than guys do. So
Yeah.
that's a tough thing. But no, like I don't know, like I do think you get shit tested a lot just to see, women do like to shit test you a lot to see if you're congruent with who you are, and like, sometimes like, and I think like I've passed a few of them. And other times, like I'm like, oh crap, I can't believe I think that was a shit test, But like you said, you just kind of gotta be in the moment and not like, continue on thinking that someone's gonna like shit test you all the time.
Well, they have to shit test you and see if you have any inner strength.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to buckle up because she challenges you? That's the deal there. And we go on the classic bad boy has the 3 dark triad traits, as I said. And let me see.
Yeah, you talked about narcissism.
Yeah, he has a lack of empathy and the need for admiration, inflated value of oneself. Well, I always tell guys too, it's better to err on the side of arrogance than self-flagellating humility. Better to think a little too much of yourself than not enough. And I would say better think you're the man. Why not believe you're a 10? Because if you don't believe you're a 10, I'm going to tell you what, nobody else is going to believe it. There you go. So why don't you believe that? Believe you're a 10, because I guarantee you the bad boy believes he's a 10. Thus, he is a 10. And the girls see him as a 10.
Yeah, they have that, the bad boy where you're saying believes in himself, because he believes he's like a 10. And I think that's a lot of, things that I think other guys who are struggling with women, they just don't believe in themselves because of the way their experiences and the way they're brought up. And I think that's something they gotta, do is believe in themselves.
Right. And she is
like, it's gonna help them out.
And she is secondary on his list, or even third. It's like she's not the most important thing in his life. And when I'll tell you what, women are loyal to the bad boy. When I was living that lifestyle in my teens and my 20s, those women could have put me in jail because I was into some shit I shouldn't have been into. Several of them could have thrown me in jail. One of them was locked up for a month. Could have got out if she snitched on me, but she didn't do it. The other one left her family to marry me. I mean, I could go on and on. But in the reverse of that, when I became the steady husband and steady father, those women tried to throw me in jail by making up false accusations. So there's the reverse. Women are loyal to a bad boy or an alpha, if you like, but to a blue pill or to a person who's trying to be the provider or the good husband, or what society teaches us a man is supposed to be, at least this society in the U.S., it doesn't work out too well for men. I mean, as you probably know some of your friends maybe that have been cleaned out in divorce court, and they were a good husband or a good father.
I had a friend who was about to get married to this one girl, like nice guy, but when it came to like seeing women, he was, like I said, he's one of those guys who would just cut contact with all his friends and make the girl like the primary focus of his life. You totally like, brag about I'm feeling special with this girl right now. The girl ended up, I guess she cheated on him with another guy and stole like his inheritance that he got from his mom.
He stole what?
She stole her because he allowed her access to his. They had a shared bank account, and
Oh,
he stole
man,
all the money in this like louder.
Yeah, she probably felt entitled to that.
than-
So, more traits of the bad boy. Of course, we have antisocial and deviance and criminal behavior. That's why I say what you want to do if you want to model the bad boy, you do want to model some of the traits, but not to the extent to where you're doing criminal behavior. There's bad boys that beat the shit out of their women, and you don't want to do that. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about here. Although I have slapped a woman or two, that's probably going to get some, but that was back in the day. And I've had to had the shit knocked out of me by girls before too. I sat there and took it and laughed at them, but yeah, there's some crazy. I don't get involved with girls like that anymore. But the psychos are the best ones in bed, as we all know.
I've been with a few psychos, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, but the bad boy is rebellious. He's rebellious with his woman. He's rebellious with authority. He does what he wants to do. He lives his life for himself. And as I said before, he's emotionally unavailable. So what I would say is, if you want to model some of the characteristics, is where the bad boy is emotionally unavailable. That's one thing men need to practice with their women. I'm not saying to be a stoic piece of stone, but if your woman says, "What's wrong with you?" You don't need to be telling her every time something's wrong with you. You say, "Oh, I'm okay, I'm fine." They don't really want to know. Women will ask you many questions they really don't want the answer to. But if you go opening up to them like they're your mommy, and remember, your woman is not your mommy. Men have a tendency to go look for a woman like their mother and think that she's going to treat them like their mother did, if you happen to have a mother that loves you. And that's not the case. They don't want to be your mom. And if you go doing it, you're going to push her right out the door. She will lose attraction.
Well, and I think some men who are used to relying on their mom, that's something they've grown up with, and that's what they want. That's what they think like a woman should do for them. It's like listen to his problems and take care of him. But that's it's totally different when it comes to like women and being having the friend the relationship with mom. With the women, it's different. They don't want. I mean, they do care, but they don't want to whine about this and ask for their help all the time. Because that's
right. Yeah, they want somebody they can lean on. Because women go through these emotional storms. If you've had relationships, which I'm sure with women, when it's their time of the month, I've had them say crazy shit to me, and then they'll tell me 2 minutes later, "Don't pay any attention to me. It's my days. It's my time of the month." They know. Mm-hmm. They want to know that you're going to be stable no matter what the hell they do. You don't want to be moved. A bad boy is not moved by what his woman does. She gets too crazy, he just walks out the door. I've walked out the door with a woman hitting on me as I walk out the door. "I don't want you to go." I've had them tell me, "I would rather you slap me than walk out and leave the room." But I'm not going to sit and listen to that stuff. I just walk out. Now, that doesn't mean that your woman is having a hard time. Let's say she got fired at work, that you shouldn't sit there and listen to her for a while. But I'm talking about when she's off on one of her crazy emotional storms. You don't have to listen to that. You don't have to tolerate that. Just go on and find something to do. Don't try to fix her. I've spent too much time trying to fix women. Don't do that. It doesn't work. They don't want to be fixed. A lot of times they just want you to listen to them. But us men, we want to fix. We want to offer solutions. Mm-hmm. So a good thing to do is if she starts telling you about her problem, you need to ask her, "Do you want me to offer you a solution, or do you just want me to listen?"
That's a good point. Yeah, because that way you know whether or not you want to help fix the situation, or just listen. Yeah, and I hear. It's funny you said that, because I remember like it was probably like my really last big relationship. Girl, when I tried to fix something, she's like, "I just don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen." She said that. Because you're right though. Like I thought it was she wanted a solution. She's like, "No, just listen." And so I just listened. And that's interesting what you just said.
Yeah. And as I said before, the bad boy can protect himself, so she knows if she's with him. That's something for you men that are watching. If you can't protect yourself, your woman is not going to feel safe with you. Because let me give you an example. Let's say you take your woman out to dinner. You're walking down the street, you park the car, and there's about 3 or 4 thugs up there on the sidewalk. they may not say anything to you, but you're going to get, maybe they're looking at you, they're eyeballing you. That's what we say, they're eyeballing you. So you're starting to feel a little nervous. Women are very intuitive. She will pick up on that crap. And maybe nobody will say anything, maybe nothing will happen, but she will pick that up. She will pick up your fear. Now, it's okay to feel some fear, but there's a difference between feeling fear and knowing that if anything arises, you can handle it, and feeling fear and knowing that if anything arises, you might run because you're scared and you can't protect your woman. She's going to know that. And when a woman's with a bad boy, she knows that guy's going to fight and he'll take a bullet for her. Even though he'll let her walk out that door, nobody's going to hurt her while she is with him. So you need to be able to fight. You may never have to, but that just gives you a feeling of confidence that you're not going to get anywhere else. And it's not that bad. I've been punched in the head thousands of times. I still have my right mind, I think, anyway. Find some kind of a contact sport, jiu-jitsu, boxing, UFC. I'd try that if I wasn't 61 years old, but I don't want to be getting slammed on the mat. So
UFC, that'd be fun. Like, I've done jiu-jitsu before. That was pretty cool. I've done taekwondo as well.
Yeah, I did that years ago. But something that you can feel, it's really to build your confidence up. You may never have to use it. And I'm telling you that a lot of times I have used my skills in the street a lot of times, but there have been just as many times where I didn't have to, because I can look a man in the eye and they know whether you're full of shit or whether you're going to do something. And then you don't have to do anything. And it doesn't necessarily mean the guy's bigger or smaller. It just, people can tell if you're serious or not. Are you going to back up what you're saying?
So you're saying, like, as far as learning doing a sport where they teach you how to do self-defense, is this something that, someone should do, once a week, once every other week, and maybe attend a class, or once a month? Like, what do you recommend on that, as far as that?
You mean as far as
you said, learn like like taekwondo, jiu-jitsu.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was just having a hard time. Hearing.
Oh, sorry, my mic's kind of off there. I don't know, just like with the internet.
I think what you need to do is, I mean, you can go 2 or 3 times a week, but you need to be into some kind of physical defense sport where you actually get hit, where people actually hit you.
Okay.
Because otherwise you're not going to know what to do. I mean, when you're hurt.
Right.
Unless you get hurt and learn what to do. It's about it's the only true way that I know you can learn how to fight is you actually have to fight. And that's the one thing I like about any kind of boxing or UFC. In the gym, they have some of the hardest, toughest fights that they ever have. I mean, because they're working out with guys, they're sparring with guys that may be a lot better than them or bigger, faster, whatever. Now, it's not a sanctioned fight. There's no winner or loser, but there is a winner or loser. And you can take a hell of a beating in the gym. So you need to learn what to do when you get hit so hard that you can't, you kind of half out on your feet. Or if you get hit in the stomach and it knocks the wind out of you. Contrary to what most people believe, you can fight without being able to breathe. If someone hits you hard enough where you can't breathe, you can fight right through that. Your breath will come back in 20 or 30 seconds. But most people, I tell my boys, you get in a fight with somebody, hit them in the stomach, because most people can't take a punch to the gut. They'll drop. Okay, but our heads are about as hard. Everybody's got a hard head. You don't have to exercise your head. It's going to be hard. So, you hit someone in the stomach, they'll lose their breath. They get afraid. They can't breathe, and they think that's the end of them, usually. Most people, unless they're a fighter and they know.
Oh, that's an interesting point. No, I can see that, yes. I used to what about you kick a guy in the balls? Is that sucker?
Yeah, that's bullshit. That's like TV shit. I was with a girl one night, one of the crazy ones. That bitch kicked me in the balls, and the next day, it didn't stop me. And it was a good hit. Next day, my balls were black. I mean, the whole sack was black. And I mean, she hit me hard as hell. It didn't stop me. It didn't stop me. That shit won't stop you. If you know how to fight, you may stop the normal, I don't know, some weak guy. But if a guy is a man, a tough guy, you ain't going to stop him with that shit. That stuff they show on TV about them girls, that's bullshit. It hurts, but it's not going to stop you.
Michael Robertson says, so hitting helps dating. No, we're just talking about like, a woman that likes a guy who's good at who can take care of her. She found herself in a situation where there were robbers or something that you can go out there and like take care of the guy, be that tough guy that protects her. That's what we're meant by that's what we're talking about fighting.
Yeah. Well, it's just a good thing. It makes you feel confident. I mean, everybody should know how to fight something. I mean, because the police can't get here. I mean, people depend so much on the police. I had a guy come to my house. Good example. About a year ago, this guy came to my house. Big guy. I was upstairs working out. I heard him banging on the door. I'm like, what? I thought it was one of my son's friends. And my daughter came up here and was afraid and said some guy was down there. So I walked out on the veranda, second floor, and I looked down there and he looked up and I said, who are you hunting for? And he's looked at me, he said, who are you? I said, well, my name's Mark. I said, I own the house. And I said, well, you need to go. I could tell he'd been drinking. Anyway, he wouldn't leave. Long story. I went down there. I asked him to leave 5 times. He wouldn't go. And I went down there with my mouthpiece in my hand. So I put it in my mouth. And I didn't want to punch him because I could tell he'd been drinking. So I slapped him shortly up under his chin and knocked him head over heels. And then he got back up on his feet and he said, watch this. And I thought, oh, shit. Because he was 240 probably. I thought, well, here he comes. So I got ready. But he didn't. He started to walk away. And he smashed his glasses, so I picked him up and I handed him to the guy. And he went to his vehicle, and I thought he was going to get a gun because he said he was going to come back. So then I called the police. Hell, they never even came up here. I mean, he could have got a gun because I don't have guns here, but somebody stole the one I had. But the point I'm making is I had to protect my family. I don't know what the hell. I found out later what the guy was doing, but he was a threat to my kids. Okay, and you got to be able to do that. You can't just go run in the house and call the police and hide out sometimes. They're not going to get here in time. So a woman feels better with a man like that, and it goes back to the bad boy. The bad boy is not going to let anything happen to his woman if she's with him.
Now, one last thing I want to cover, like, because I think this is another good bad boy trait is, we probably talked about this earlier, but it's, having sexual confidence, being the one to, put the move on the girl, being able to kiss her. Because I think a lot of guys struggle with that, especially nowadays with everything about showing sexual confidence. What's your take on that?
You mean as far as how things are? What?
Or like as far as like, guys who may find it very hard to be sexually confident with a woman like these days, make a move or, maybe, escalate something towards sex, stuff like that. What's your take on that?
Well, I really think you need to be setting that up from the very first time you talk to her. As I said, and that goes a lot with tone of voice, how you talk to women. Are you talking to them like your friend, like your buddy, or are you talking to them like a woman that you want to bed down or you want to go to sleep with? And you don't. There's a guy, Roger Allen Curry. Now he takes a direct.
I know, right?
Yeah, now that's really direct. Few people, I've done that before. Few people can do it, and there's not every situation is how do I say, lack of a better way, ready for that or is going to work with that. But that is one way to do it. But there's another subtle way that you can do it. I was trying to think. I was at a gas station the other day, and the lady said something about pumping gas. And I said something to her about, I like it when other people pump it. But anyway, okay, there was nothing said about sex. But the way I looked at her when I said that, she knew, and she just smiled. So that's what I'm talking about is when you talk to girls, you need to let them know that, hey, I'm wanting to be with you physically. You don't have to come right out and say it. I mean, although you can do like Roger Allen Curry and say, I just want to take you home and fuck you. That's the way he talks. But
yeah, I know. I did a consultation with him a long time ago.
There are situations where you can do that, but then the words that you don't say, the way that you say the words that you do, the unsaid, what is it called? The underlying meaning of the words. That's where you really need to work on when you talk to girls. You look at them. It's the way you move your head, the way you say, hey, why don't you meet me tonight after you get off work?
Yeah.
Like as opposed to this. Hey, can you meet me after you get off work tonight? What time do you get off? How about this? You should meet me when you get off work. Get out of here about 10. I'll be up here at 10:10.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's good. You got it.
You should. I didn't ask her to go out. I said, you should. You should. You should meet me after work. You should meet me at the bar for a drink. You should.
You're taking control of the situation.
You're not asking. You're not. How can you get turned down? You didn't ask her out. You just said she should meet you. So I put you in a position of, your frame. You got the frame right there, regardless of what she says.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the way you gotta do this. But then again, like I said, you got to get out there and talk to girls. You got to practice this stuff. You can't sit here and think about it or read about it. You got to go out there and do it. You got to be a
Right.
social. You got to learn how to be social, how to talk to people.
Mm-hmm. I know one thing I kind of, from my experiences, I found the more social I was with women, the more experiences that I've gained with women, it helped me to become, sexually confident. I'm going to be like releasing a video soon on how to, how have success on women. And one of the things I talked about is just being consistent with that. Just going out there, learning through trial and error, and then challenging myself to do new things that I wasn't doing before. And then when I overcame those challenges, like I would, do something different. Like for instance, like I was always that guy, like well, I'm over this now, but like I don't know, on the first date, like I was afraid to go in for a kiss, and I said, well, that's one thing I'm gonna do, regardless of what happens to me. That if I'm really enjoying my time with the girl, I'm gonna let her know how it is I'm feeling right now. And, to me, it's also it's like an interest level on her end too. If you go in for a kiss and she gives some excuse, it helps me calibrate like her interest level at the moment, and just the nature of the kissing as well. And I've learned that from my experiences. Like I noticed that girls who I normally kiss on the first date, when it kind of gets kind of heated and everything, I know I can ask them to come back to my place. From my experiences, they like girls before have gone back to my house on the first date.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's just important how you set it up when you get started. It's they talk about frame. You got to control the frame from the very beginning. You talked about shit tests. Here's a good one. Let's say you take a girl out. You're picking her up at her house, and you go out and you're going to, let's say you're going to Kentucky Fried Chicken, for example. Okay, you love Kentucky Fried Chicken, so you're going, right? You're not going to spend a bunch of money on her. And she says, well, and you told her you were going to Kentucky Fried Chicken. She was up for that. Great idea, she said. She likes the coleslaw. Okay, so you're on the way, and she says, I don't want to eat chicken tonight. I'd rather go to the steakhouse. And you know what you said? Well, here's what you do. Oh, really? Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go to Kentucky Fried tonight. Next time we go out, we'll go to the steakhouse. She's trying to get you. But a lot of guys, oh really? Okay, yeah, let's go to the steakhouse. You failed the shit test. Her respect for you has gone down, and thus her attraction has gone down also.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to the restaurant, don't let her pick the seat. You walk in front. Don't let her walk in front of you. Some of these girls, the last girl I dated, took me, she was from another country, so we only got together once a month. It took me a month or two to teach her to walk beside me because she was beautiful. So the guys she went out with, she would lead them around, and they would just let her. I was with her for a year, and it was just too much work. She was so used to guys just letting her do whatever she wanted to. So it's very important that you lead the way. Don't let your woman lead you around. How many times you go to the supermarkets and you see these guys, they're pushing the cart, the woman's up front with a couple kids, and he's in the behind pushing the cart around. I don't know how many clients I work with, and I'll be talking to the husband. You know what he says, the classic? Well, let me ask the boss.
I heard that too, yeah.
You know what? She is the boss. She doesn't want to be the boss. And this girl doesn't want to lead when you guys go out. And that's what happens when guys get in relationships sometimes too. They become complacent. And I've done this too. Comes Friday or whatever, you're going to take your girl, your wife, whatever, out for dinner. And it's like, you don't pick the place to go. Well, I don't care, wherever you want to go. You just start letting her do that. You don't want to do that. That's complacency. You're the leader. You need to lead. The reason she quits taking care of herself, she starts gaining weight, is because you're not the same man that she married. You come home, you sit your ass on the couch, you don't do anything. You're not focusing on your vision. You're not pursuing your purpose. You're just not doing anything. She was with she got with the man that had a dream, just like the bad boy. He had a dream. She wanted to stay with him. You got married, all of a sudden, you're just going to work. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're providing for the kids. You're providing for her if you have kids, and you think you're doing your job. You're not doing your job. Your job is to be the man she fell in love with. It's to be the man that you were. She is complementary to your life. She's not the focus. She's not you got to keep doing what you did when you met her.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, no, and I hear you. I think that's what happens sometimes because we get comfortable and stuff, and when we get comfortable, we get lazy, and sometimes we don't take the lead, and we let the woman take the lead, and we got to be leading.
Right. And I think that's part of the problem we have here in the U.S. is we got the feminist movement and all this, but I blame the men. The women have the feeling that they don't need a man here in the U.S. because the systems put in place so women could feel that way were put in place by men. Not that women shouldn't be safe. I'm not saying that they shouldn't feel safe, but the reason they can get by without men, or at least they think they can, in the U.S. is because of the systems, as I said, men have put into place. If it weren't for the men, it would be bad for the women. So, and it's the same in your family and your relationship. The family is a small government. And if the family breaks down, then the country breaks down. Men are not leading. We have a real lack on masculine men. It's almost like masculinity. And there again, the bad boy is definitely masculine. I guess they would probably call him toxic masculinity, they would say he was. But if it weren't for toxic masculinity, we would probably be speaking German today. We would have lost World War II. So tell that to the 17-year-old boys on D-Day that jumped out of those landing crafts and got cut down with the 50 caliber machine guns. The toxic masculinity is terrible. Yeah, we need toxic masculinity. And there again, the bad boy, he's definitely has toxic masculinity. So you need to be a masculine man. That doesn't mean you can tone it down. You don't have to be like the bad boy and be a criminal and selling drugs and these types of things, but you can take those traits and tone them down and still use them.
Right. It's all about this kind of living life on your own terms and everything, and having the mindset and not just conforming to what other people are. Because I think a lot of guys, I think the problem they have is they're like conditioned by society and the way they were raised, and like I think that keeps them from being that bad boy that women find attractive. Because they're taught to respect them, they're taught to treat them like gentlemen, they're taught that you have to act this way, and if you want to get to them, they say you got to do this. And really, there's another way where you can be on your own terms, be free, and like believe in yourself, and not put yourself first before others. I mean, it's okay to help others out, but sometimes you just gotta you gotta be selfish and stuff. Because I used to be that guy too, where I constantly felt like I had to do something just to please the girl and everything. I never put my needs first. And, that's one thing I've learned to do now is put my needs first. I mean, I still like to do things for girls, yes, but if I don't want to do something, if I don't want to do this or that, I'm just going to say that, and not do it because, to please the girl.
Yeah, that's something else that people need to learn how to do is to say no. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain, just say no. Girls want you to say no. If you got a pair of balls, you can say no and not feel bad about it. I've had a lot of practice. I got kids, so I've been raising them by myself for 10 years. I say no all the time. It's easy. No. That's all you have to do. No. But see, guys don't want to do that because they're afraid that she isn't going to like them if they say no. And that's another thing. When you approach a girl, don't go up there thinking, I hope she likes me. Go up there thinking, I'm going to find out what this girl's like and see if I like her. Because, we see a beautiful girl and we think, man, she's great. But I've met beautiful women, been with beautiful women, and then after you get to know them a little while, they're not so beautiful anymore. And I don't give a shit how pretty they are. After you're having sex with them for a while, if they don't have anything under the hood, you're going to get tired of it. But for a guy,
no, I totally agree with you, man. Yeah, no, that's true.
For a guy who's never had much sex, he has a hard time believing that. Because I remember before I started having sex when I was probably 14, I'd see a guy that was married, and I thought, man, that must be great having sex whenever you want it. And the guy would tell me, he said, no, it's not quite like you think. But if you don't have sex, you think that's, that'd be great. It just doesn't work that way, though.
Right. No, I hear you. Well, hey, we're going to wrap up the show here. Do you have any final thoughts?
Let me see. I don't know if I got any.
Fantastic. Riley says fantastic.
Let's see. I had a few. I'll just say a few things. Remember that, your woman, she wants you to be her mountain. You're the rock. You're dominant in the bedroom and out. That doesn't mean domineering. It means dominant. You might want to look that word up. She feels safe to abandon herself to your strength. If you're not strong with her, she doesn't feel safe with you. If she doesn't feel safe, she doesn't feel attracted to you. And she definitely wants to be dominated in the bedroom. Okay, you can take her or leave her. The door is always open. There it is. If you don't like the way things are, you can walk right out there. You have to be willing to let them go and mean it. Who is it says the most, I think Corey Wayne says the most powerful negotiating position is to be able to walk away and mean it. Very important.
A lot of guys have that problem. They have a hard time walking away, meaning it.
Yeah.
Especially those guys who, don't have feel like they don't have enough women, and like it's like they look at it as scarcity. So they put up with that. If the woman's
Man, there's so many. Here's the deal. I have more options with beautiful young women now than I did when I was in my 20s because there's a world market. It's incredible. And I don't have to fly over to Asia. Not that there's anything wrong with Asia, but just go down Medellin, Colombia, anywhere, Bogota, Latin America. Of course, I like the dark hair and dark eye. There are so many beautiful women down there. You just couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
I got somebody. You see the sign? I'm on the air, bud.
I didn't know that.
There's a sign on the door.
Oh,
Sorry
It's
about
okay. No, you're good, buddy.
my son.
It's okay, man. You got an on-air sign?
I do.
Oh, that's cool.
He's probably been drinking. I mean, I just want my boy.
Oh no, you're good, man. No,
he's a good kid.
It's okay. That's what were you saying?
Anyway, wise enough to know. There's a lot of tips. I guess that's about it.
Okay, and where can my viewers find you? Like, I know that I put it on the thing here, but where can my viewers?
Yeah, my website is marksinspiration.com, and I have a couple books out on Amazon. The Power is Within by Mark Daniels, and Coming Back Home: The True Adventure of Mark Daniels. The Coming Back Home book is a good book. There's a lot of experience in there that I've written that can help you out in your life. To show you that no matter how bad things get, just get back up and never give up. Just keep going, and life will get better. You learn from your mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to go up and ask that girl out. I guarantee you feel worse if you don't than if you go up and ask her and she turns you down. Mm-hmm. The only failure is when you don't get back up and try again, when you just give up.
Yeah, you're only a failure when you just stop doing what you're doing. When you say you're going to do something,
exactly.
You just don't do it. And and I mean sometimes too, like, I kind of like, slack off a bit. That's every time I'm slacking off, I think to myself, Rob, remember, you're not a failure, so get your ass going, and that's what motivates me to get going, and you got to do that. You got to be when things are tough, no matter how tough they are, you still got to keep pushing, because if you really want something, that's how you do it.
Yeah. Build your character. A lot of people want success without character. You cannot have success without character. These times you go through where you feel like a loser, you feel discouraged, you feel disillusioned, these are character building opportunities, because without that character, if you achieve that success, you will self-sabotage. You won't be able to handle it, because it takes character to be able to handle a certain amount of notoriety and success, or money, right. Whatever. Money is power, or it equates to power. And if you can't, if you don't have the character, you won't be able to handle that success.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's true.
Whether it be with women or money or whatever it happens to be, fame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Well, hey, Mark, thanks for coming on the show. I'd definitely like to have you on again, and we can maybe talk about something else. We don't have to go into women, because you said you like to talk about a lot of different things. So I really like this conversation.
Yes. And, my pleasure. Glad you asked me.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing the show, like I said. And yeah, guys, be sure to like the video and share, and be sure to subscribe to Mark's channel and check out his books on Amazon. And yeah, remember too, my book, 5 Pillars of Self-Confidence, is just released, so I put the link to that in the description here. I will put the link to Mark's channel in the description, and website in the description after the show, so that you can go find him there. So until then, I will be live again next Saturday with the Sophisticated Man. We're starting the new Alpha Male Mindset shows. It's a dating and mindset show, so be sure to tune into that. It will start at 2 p.m. MST time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Until then, guys, rock on, and